What's up, guys? This is YGO Silence coming at you with another deck profile. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my Adamancipator list. This is a deck that I've been enjoying for a long time, really since it came out. It was tier 0 for a while, got hit, was still a solid contender, and then now I think it's kind of fallen off most people's radar. I still think this deck can be very effective. It plays through interruptions extremely well. It ends on some great boards, and it can go second. Alright, this deck has a lot of stuff going for it, and I do think you should definitely give it the respect if you're, trying to be competitive in any way. But anyway, guys, with that being said, let's get right into this video. Alright, so starting off with the main deck, we have our usual suspects. 3 Researcher, 3 Seeker, 3 Analyzer. These cards are very important 3-ofs. You need to play 3 of them. Do not play any other ratio of these. These cards enable pretty much all of your plays. They generate a ton of advantage. They are your synchro, your tuners. So really everything that this deck is revolves around these cards. So you definitely want to max out on these. Next we play 3 Doki Doki, 3 Guardian, 2 Supplier, and 2 Petting Sessor. These are still very generic in this deck, especially the Doki Doki and the Guardian. Guardian just allows you to play through hand traps. Doki Doki lets you get one from your deck. It's a very good card. Supplier is a generic extender. Just really solid. Generates advantage. So I see a lot of people playing 3 of this. If you're playing any more than 40 cards, I would recommend playing 3 of this. But I'm only playing 40 cards. I don't want to see 2 in my opening hand. So I decided to cut down on this. And then I play 2 Petting Sessor. It's really good for rank 4. It's very good for going into your synchros with any of the minors. And it's just a free special summon, so it's a good card. Alright, now this is where it starts to get a little weird. Not weird in a bad way, but weird as in different. This little package I've been playing has really sold itself for me, and that is 3 Rock Band Xeno Guitar. This card is insane. 1 Gia Plate, the Earth Giant, and then 1 Gigantes. This is kind of what I would call the Rock Banishment engine. And that is Rock Band Xeno Guitar kind of enables this to work. It's a new card. And what it does is when it's sent to the graveyard, you could target a rock in your graveyard and then add it to your hand. Then place 1 card from your hand on top of the deck. Now that does a couple things. Number 1, it pulls a card from your graveyard and adds it to your hand so you could load up for your next turn. And what it does is, let's say you have a card like Revival Golem, and you don't want it in your hand, obviously. It'll let you put it back in your hand, and then you can also know what's on top of your deck. So when your miners are excavating, you know what you're going to hit, alright? So this is a really, really good way if you have like a Kwakimaru Guardian in your hand or a Revival Golem in your hand. You can guarantee that your next miner will hit. So this little engine is huge, but the main thing, when this is banished, alright, you get to send 1 rock monster from your deck to the graveyard. That is enormous, going both first and second, because you could send cards like Revival Golem, or Tackle Crusader, or Weathering Soldier. Alright, all 3 of these want to be in the graveyard. Tackle Crusader for going second, Withering Soldier for your fossil plays, and Revival Golem is just a generic extender. Gigantes and Gaia Plate are both really, really good extenders naturally, but they also let you work through with Xeno Guitars. This little engine I've been playing, I just cannot say it enough. It's been excellent. Revival Golem is great. Tackle Crusader, great going second, like I said. And you do play fossils in this deck. I think fossils are the way this deck is going to kind of focus on now that we really can't play the way we used to. So I think as fossils get more and more support, more people will jump on that bandwagon. But even now, I do think fossils are definitely the way you should be playing this deck. And then rounding off our monster lineup, we have 3 copies of Nibiru. It is a rock, it is searchable, it is a good hand trap. You can't really play a ton of hand traps in your main, unfortunately. I always like playing more, but this is more of a combo deck. You want to be able to play through interruptions, not just generate your own. And so I found that having a couple more extenders really does lend itself to that. But anyway, that's our monster lineup. Let's let's move on to the spells. Alright, starting off with the spells, we play 3 copies of Adamancipator Signs. This card is very, very good. It is a non-once per turn monster reborn for rocks, and you play rocks. So, like, this card is nuts. It also lets you stack your deck if you're hitting an Adamancipator with this card. So, it's just really, really good. 3 Fossil Fusion. This card is so underrated. I love it so much. Not only is this a great go second card, but it's just a generic extender. You could get 4s off this really easy. Because one of the rock monster, or one of the fusion monsters, is literally any rock monster and a level 4 or lower, and you get a level 4 monster on your field. So it's an extender. It lets you banish, so it allows you to work through it with Rock Band. It's just a great card. So I would highly recommend playing 3 Fossil Fusion. I think I cannot say it enough. Also, it's not once per turn for some reason, so it's just really good. I play 1 time stream. Comes up. You could cut it if you really, really want to. I wouldn't. I like having the option because it does let me kind of play through if I'm using more than 1 Fossil Fusion and stuff like that. Time stream does come up. Then from there, 2 copies of Miracle Rupture and 1 copy of Foolish Burial. Technically, Miracle Rupture is better than Foolish Burial in this deck because you can get advantage off of it if Fossil Fusion is in the graveyard, which does come up fairly often. The reason I play the 1 Foolish Burial instead of the 3rd copy of Miracle Rupture is because Miracle Rupture is a hard once per turn, and I like being able to resolve both Foolish Burial and Miracle Rupture in 1 turn. But if you really want to, you can play 3 Rupture and no Foolish Burial, that's fine. But anyway, that's the spells. Let's move on to the extra deck. Alright, so starting off with the extra deck, we play 1 Rapetite, 1 Leonite, 1 Dragite, and 1 Crystal Wing. This is a really... This extra deck is kind of tight, I will say that. You want to play a lot of different cards because this deck can kind of toolbox into anything. It can get to rank 4s, it could get to most synchros, it can do link plays. Like, you have a ton of stuff you can do, and you have to narrow it down to 15 cards. So it's kind of hard. This is the synchro lineup I think you should play. I think Reptite is just really good. Leonite, this card, I think you will see a lot more. It lets you dig through your deck. It gets you access to your Adamancipator Monster Reborn. It gets you access to your miners. And since the miners can be special summoned, if you control a rock or an Adamancipator card, any other one except Analyzer, you can special summon if you haven't already, and then go to an 8. Dragite is awesome, and then Crystal Wing is awesome. The reason I play Crystal Wing instead of Borreload Savage is because these two actually sometimes conflict, because a lot of times the only link monster I go into is Needle Fiber, and it's a water, but like Borreload Savage wants to get the 1 link monster out of your graveyard and equip it, and so a lot of times I will find myself going into 2 8s and then not being able to use Borreload Savage or not being able to use Dragite. So that's why I play Crystal Wing. I still think it's an excellent card. So that's what I would go with. I play the 1 Gallon Granite. Obviously, this card is awesome. It's a generic searcher. It's a generic 4. I mean, you can't go wrong. Starting off with the fusions, I play 2 Skullbone. This is your generic 4 that you could summon with pretty much any 2 monsters in the deck. I mean, it's just really good. 1 Skullguard. This does come up. It's a little bit bigger. It inflicts piercing. And you can banish it from your graveyard to add a Fossil Fusion, so it's alright. This is the one that adds Time Stream. 1 Skull Knight, you could banish it to pop a monster, which is really good. And then Skull King, which is the boss monster of the archetype, is actually nuts. Any level 7 or higher monster, so like Gia Plate does come up for that. This card is just really busted. Being able to monster reborn out of your opponent's graveyard during their turn means you can, like, if they go in with a Monster Reborn or a Adamancipator or anything like that, and they target, you could just steal it, or you could take a card from, their graveyard that they're going to use for resources. It's just a really, really strong card altogether. Then, starting off with the links, I play 1 Halqifibrax, 1 IP, 1 Unicorn, 1 Appaloosa, and then 1 Boral Sword. The reason I play this lineup in particular, and I know a lot of you are thinking like, oh, what about like Phoenix? What about like Cerberus? What about this? What about that? Like I said, this deck is really, really tight in the extra deck. You could play a lot of random stuff, and it will work. So whatever you want to do, you can. But this is the lineup that I find myself falling back on quite often. Needle Fiber is necessary. I really like IP with Unicorn because Unicorn is kind of a get out of jail free card for really anything that I don't like. Instead, whereas Phoenix or Cerberus, I have to pick one, either monsters or spell and traps. Appaloosa is just a really, really good interruption that does work with IP, and then Boral Sword for going second. So that is my extra deck. You guys can play what you want, but that's what works for me. Let's move on to the side deck. Alright, starting off with the side deck, I quickly want to say, the side deck even more, whatever you want to play in here works. I'm going to give you like what I play and what I think works, but you can put in whatever you want. I play 3 Ash, 2 Droll, 1 Alpha. This is a really, really good lineup just in general. A lot of times you need more hand traps. Like I said, this deck does not play a lot in the main. So having them in the side is really nice for those really bad combo heavy decks when you're going second. For back row, I play 3 Twin. One of these will be a Harpy's Feather Duster. I just can't find mine right now, but change that for Harpies. 3 Evenly. And then I play 3 Imperm because it's just a really, really good hand trap. Also, I need to get a hold of more alphas because they're awesome. But anyway, that is my side deck, and that's the whole profile. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.